And also, Srishti, you will look at it that whoever is speaking is in the screen, right?
Yes, ma'am, we are live. So you can start, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm host for this afternoon, Papia Banerjee. Livelihood is a subject that is very close to my. You can hear me.
Yes, ma'am, please continue.
So, livelihood is a subject that is very close to me and close to my heart. And I have been working on it for ages, and I really want to now focus and give it the alignment to the purpose and passion that I have for this. I feel really privileged today to welcome you all for this panel discussion on the theme for women: courage to choose, courage to challenge, and courage to change. A very, very warm welcome to all my panelists today. And so, first of all, I would like to take this opportunity. So, thanks to my panelists for giving me, this chance to host them over here today. A very welcome to all of you. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Pankaj Mithal, Secretary General of the Association of Indian Universities. She also happens to be the second woman Secretary General of the association in its 95 years of existence. She has been serving in the higher education sector for over 3 decades as senior positions in University Grants Commission of India. She is the National Commissioner for Rangers of Bharat Scouts and Guides. She is also the member of General Assembly of Indian Council of Culture Relations, New Delhi. She has been playing a pivotal role in aligning the education and livelihood for our students in different universities. So, welcome, Dr. Mithal. My next guest is Sylvia Smithanna. She is a co-founder of Diversify and founder of Diversify Club. For more than 25 years, Sylvia has been leading the different roles as director of finance, advisors, entrepreneurs, board members across organizations located in Europe, US, and India. Her mission is to make the boards more diversified and inclusive for better performance and corporate governance. She has been the championing the cause for having more women in the boardrooms, and I'm sure most of us dream about the same. So, all power to you, Sylvia, and welcome to this panel.
Thank you very much.
Bijaya Balaji is a good friend. She's also the CEO and Managing Director, Toolbox India Foundation, and founder of Social Lens Consulting, is amongst the pioneers in advising non-profit organizations on organizational development, change, strengthening, and impact requirements. In her diverse experience working in social impact sector, Vijaya has worked as an impact design expert, coached organizations, and developed toolkits for technology-enabled assessment platforms. In her role as a CEO for 8+ years now, Vijaya has worked with over 150 plus organizations. Vijaya, that I know of, I know her for last 8 years now. I can possibly, certainly say that she has been working relentlessly to increase the impact of all the non-profit sector players in social initiatives for change. So more power to you, Vijaya, and welcome.
Thank you for such a generous introduction, Papia. Thank you for having me here.
My last guest is Charu Kapoor, and Charu is the COO for NIT Foundation. And one thing that I can say about Charu is she's absolutely exceptional when it comes to organizational and administration related changes. See, at NIT Foundation, their whole key has been to skilling hundreds, thousands, hundred thousands, and millions of people into different skills and providing them the livelihood. And she has been playing a pivotal role in ensuring that mission gets accomplished. She believes in the skilling and livelihood for girls will bring in the real change for India, and she is completely focused on that purpose for herself. And I'm really honored to have Charu over here, knowing the passion and the kind of work that VC is doing at a ground level. So more power to you, Charu, and welcome.
Thank you, Papia. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So moving on to our first session, first discussion point or first question. So all of us have been, in the panel today. We have almost 2 to 3 decades of experiences. When we look back, there are those crucible moments in our life where we had to make some courageous choices, and those choices then turn into the course of life. For me, one such instance, which is the most recent, was in 2020 post-COVID situation. I was at a peak of my career, but had a nagging feeling for very long when I felt that I can do so much more. I can do much, much more than what one organization can possibly provide. I made a choice. I made a choice to be an entrepreneur. October 31st was my 2020 was my last day at a corporate. It was not so easy because I knew that money, connections, respect, privileges that I have been enjoying so far, I will have to forego. It has been difficult, but yet it has been a refreshing change, allowing me to do what I love to do and loving what I do. I'll first move to Pankaj and want to know from you that what was your crucible moment and the choices that you made that followed after that.
Okay, thank you, Papia, first for my introduction, for speaking so well. And and first of all, I would like to wish happy International Women's Day to all the women here and all the women of India and all the women of world. Now, coming to your question, I mean, it's very difficult to think of one such instance. But then, if I recollect, I feel that one such moment was when I was appointed as a vice chancellor of Women University in Haryana. So before that, I have been working in Delhi. UGC was my parent office. I have been working there for long, long time since 1990 till 2008 when that moment came, when I was appointed as a vice chancellor. I was very young. I was 44 years old. My daughter was in 12th class. My son was in fourth class. So when he was in fourth class, and this university was not very far off from Delhi, but around 100 kilometers from Delhi. And joining that university meant that I have to stay there at least for the full week and then come back on the weekend and then again go the next week. So my children were looking at me, my husband was looking at me whether you would like to join or not. I had never left them alone in my life. So always I have been with them, looking after them, taking care of them. But then when this choice came, I was really worried. How can I leave my family? My son is so young, fourth class is too young. And if I leave them now, will I be accused of not taking care of the family and giving preference to the job rather than the family? But then I must say that I got a lot of support from my family, my husband, my children. Everybody almost forced me to go. You must go. We will take care of ourselves, and then you will be there on the weekends. We will take care of ourselves, and you will take care of yourself there. And then that university was a very new university, recently established university, and there were not much facilities also, so not good living space were also there, and it was a rural university. So both ways, I mean, leaving the children at home alone and also joining a place which by that time nobody knew about that place, and in a rural area where I have never been, it was almost a challenge which I mean, developing cold feet whether I should accept it or not. But ultimately, with the support of everybody, I did join, and I really feel that joining that university as the vice chancellor made a lot of difference, not only in my own perception and my own thinking and my own career, but also in the women in that university and women around the university. Because there, I mean, we had 6,000 girls there, and the education was from KG till PhD level. And we built, I mean, luckily the government gave a lot of funding and we built a lot of infrastructure. But the main thing which we did was to connect the society with the university. I mean, we made a center called Center for Society, University Interface and Research, where we connected with the village women. And that was something, a very, very blissful experience, that connecting with the rural women and working for them. I mean, the university, I mean, normally you say that you have to take care of the people who are within the four walls of the university, but we were taking care of people who were outside the four walls of the university. And I still remember that in one of the UNESCO conferences which was organized in the university, one village woman with a long hooded on her face, she came to the dais and she said in Hindi कि ये वो यूनिवर्सिटी है जिसने यूनिवर्सिटी के बाहर वालों की भी जिंदगी बदल दी है। मतलब अंदर वालों की जिंदगी बदलना तो यूनिवर्सिटी का काम ही है, पर यूनिवर्सिटी के बाहर वालों की भी जिंदगी बदलती है। So that was something, I think that was the best compliment of my life, that we could contribute to the rural India, to the village women, to the community. So it was a really a remarkable experience. And from that, the journey has not ended till now when I am appointed as a second woman secretary general of AIU. I mean, in 95 years, they could not find a woman to head it. So only the second woman secretary general. So it has been a remarkable journey. And I really thank my stars and my family for allowing me to take a difficult decision at that point of time.
So your courage has given so many women courage, right? So many women. So that's where they say that if you have a one woman taking a stand, it is a family. But in your case, it is not only the family, but you're taking a stand has given that whole population.
Yes.
So we are so proud of you, Dr. Mithal.
Thank you.
Very proud.
Thank you.
So my next question actually goes to Sylvia, the same question. And
Thank you.
Sylvia, so what has been your moment that we can say the crucible moment, the pivotal moment where you had to take courageous stand?
Well, actually, there wasn't just one because I've been in business for 25 years, but let me point out two specific ones. One is that from the age of 25, I actually started to move out of my hometown and move to different places. So I'm also representing kind of the three different continents here. I lived in Europe, in US, and in India. So one of the challenges I found, and I think courage, actually the courage that is needed to actually leave everything behind and actually start a new job, start a new friends circle in a new environment. It is a challenge. It actually is not easy. Emotionally, it's not easy, but I actually found it opens you up to a lot of learning and a lot of new opportunities. And so I moved first from my hometown to another place in Austria. Then I moved from Austria to Germany. I moved from Germany to the US. I moved from the US back to Germany. And I moved to India 4 years back. So I actually experienced this kind of letting go of the old and actually embracing the new quite a few times. And every time I did that, I actually learned something incredibly new and important. And also understanding the different cultures and how what you think is normal isn't necessarily normal. It's just one cultural norm that this is how it is in this country, but it's not necessarily the truth. So in that, I also had challenges in terms of being the only woman in the room in multiple, ways. For example, as a director of finance on the C-suite, or as a consultant, as a business consultant, working with boardrooms and C-suites, I often was the only woman in the room. And that also led me then to found Diversify and Diversify Club, because we want to bring more women into those top positions, because I do believe that women have a different kind of culture to bring. Women are more collaborative. They are more concerned about sustainability. They're more concerned about innovation and really embracing equality. So that is the mission of Diversify, really, to make that happen. And one of the other things, the courage that I also felt was important in my life is in the C-suite, I actually had to blow the whistle, which is incredibly challenging emotionally. It's and you basically risk everything. When you blow the whistle, you basically risk your job, you risk everything to be true to your own experience, be true to what you know is right. And that is something that in my experience, I would definitely do again, because it's about one's own ethical standard. And that, again, I feel is something that, in my experience, at least with the people I've worked with, generally, I see that women are less willing to compromise ethical standards than men are. I would phrase it this way. So these are the learnings I would like to share.
Yeah, Sylvia, I have been in that place where being alone in the whole CXO tables, it is tough. It is overwhelming, and there are times that your voice is just not given any kind of significance. So you speak. You need to be more louder. You need to be more courageous. You need to actually put in extra effort for everything that it goes. So I completely empathize with what you have gone through. But what a remarkable takeaway from that, right? To say I will change the world, because many of us go through, yeah, even whistleblowing takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
But going beyond and saying that, how do I really improve it, or how do I correct it from the root? So, remarkable effort and a very, very good initiative. So, looking forward to knowing more about it, and all the best. And we'll hear you soon for more.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Vijay, you are the next. So, would love to know your story, your courageous point.
Thank you, Papia, and good afternoon to all my esteemed co-panelists. And thanks to Jeevitam and you, Papia, for having me here. Um, I'm just going to go back to 10 years ago. It is my 10th year since I made my foray into the social impact sector, right? And it was completely by accident that I found myself here. But I think, like a lot of us, we start off in our careers. When you finish business school, you walk away with a campus placement, and it's very different in your 20s, Papia. You look at the world with a very different lens. You're juggling family and the responsibilities of home and work, and um, you don't think too much about the work beyond, in terms of, I need to do my best. And not that that's a bad thing, but the way you look at work and life in 20s after passing out of business school is very different when you're on the cusp of 40, which was my defining moment actually for me, And I said, when I was turning 40, I wanted to do something which I did not know what it was. But, I said this was going to be completely uncharted for me, because I didn't know what I was going to do. And I've always believed in the principle of serendipity. And when one strange phone call and an interview on a Sunday evening led me to take on the role of setting up the India operations for Toolbox. Okay, I knew nothing about the work. It was very, very different, and it it actually called for me to question myself about the choice that I was making. For me, that was that moment of the courage to say that I'm going to do this. But I don't think it was just in that choice which I made. It's what went on for the next um, 6 months to a year nearly, where every day I went back wondering whether I can do this. For anybody, I think, uh, you know setting up and trying to figure out what you need to do, how do you go about it. There's no playbook to it, right? And you have to figure it out on a daily basis. And so there were moments when I just wanted to just say, do I really want to do this? Do I want to do this? But I'm glad I stuck it out, Papia, because again, uh, everything that we do is those collection of moments actually. And when you look back, you realize that thing happened then, and then something happened. And it's almost like it's like the Toolbox journey. And with Toolbox, I grew along the way, and every day is a moment of learning for me. Honestly, I can tell you that that's the only thing I tell my team, that every day, if we go back learning and knowing a little bit more than the time we showed up, I think that means that we're doing something right. It doesn't matter, we're 650 plus projects. We do now 100 projects a year in India. And I started off with 6 projects a year, working on projects, wondering where I would get volunteers. Today, I have more I don't need to ask for volunteers, they just come, uh, and I think those are those moments. So what is that learning? I think we have to we have to persevere. We have to be relentless. You know, any success, and the measurement of success is so different for each of us, each of our organizations, right? But um, but if we want to experience that sweet moment of success, big or small, however it's defined, we have to persevere and we have to be relentless. We're going to be hit with moments of doubt constantly. You know, when I set up Social Lens 5 years ago, I'm not the poster girl for entrepreneurship. I'm on the wrong side of 40. But again, I didn't know a lot of things, but we set it up, and I've been very fortunate. I think the one thing which my life is very rich with is with people, Papia. It is people. You've been one of those who've come and volunteered with us so wholeheartedly. And I think I am so fortunate to have those people. I've had a board which has questioned me, which has enabled me to do better. They've supported me in calls that I've taken, the calls that I've made, the choices I've made for the organizations. And I'm just very grateful for people. And I'm overwhelmed when they come and say, can we volunteer? Can we do this? Can we do that? It's kind of infectious, And that, I think, is finally is my moment of courage. I draw inspiration and courage from the people who come to be associated with what we do. I borrow the goodness from the work that my nonprofit partners do. And that's a great, great place to be in, Papia.
So Vijay, I have been aware of your roller coaster ride, and it is a true roller coaster adventure ride, and you have truly, truly persevered and relentlessly followed the cause that I'm, going to make it happen. And I think that's the journey. I think most of us will feel that when we have taken a courageous stand, we also get the support comes from different parts. Sometimes it comes from the people we work with. It of course comes from the family, friends. So we do get, it is a question of taking that stand and doing something good, because goodness attracts goodness, right?
Yes.
Thanks, Vijay.
Yes.
So Charu, now over to you. And such strong stories Charu has, about making a change into the women and the girls by skilling them and bringing almost to changing their lives. So Charu, over to you, your crucible moment, and how did you? I know you have done such brilliant, job of managing corporate learning and technology learning. From there, coming into NID as a foundation, that must have been a big, big change that had come in your way. So I'd love to hear
Yes.
your pivotal moment.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Papia. It was wonderful to hear all my esteemed co-panelists also. Very inspiring. Thanks for sharing your stories. So I think when I was reflecting, and Papia, when you put that question, as courage for a woman at every point in her life is important. So I could not think of any one moment, but yes, I was trying to reflect and create a story out of my career journey. And when I was young and I had just got married. I remember it must have been, I got married very young. I was doing my post graduation after that, and when I was doing that, I suddenly, the family circumstances changed. There was my father-in-law who got diagnosed with cancer, and suddenly there was a financial setback which my husband saw in his work life, in his uh, initiative that he had taken up. And then I was doing my post graduation, and those that was a moment when I had just embarked on my career journey, and all developments happened. So I think at that point the support of my family was immense, and it took me courage that I will still stay on course and complete my pursuit of doing my post graduation, and I wanted to get going with it. I still remember that it meant early morning, going to the university, doing my sessions, and because of the family condition, I had to take up a job. So it meant 7 to 7, and I had to take care of the family. So I felt that I'm sure there are many of us who go through this, because that's what courage means to every woman. Because I think a woman adapts the relationships, and from there she becomes stronger. So that was the initial phase, and after that, nothing stopped me. I have seen phases in my career where I started taking on additional responsibilities. I was handling the education business, and at a point, I was handling a team of almost 30 people, and I was the only woman who was leading. There was no single girl or lady in my team. It was an all men team. And at that point, it was business. It was a business role. So, having said that, I had to be at pace with them. And that meant I had to travel for 12 to 15 days in a month, pan India. I didn't stay back. I will again say thanks to my family who stood by me, and my children who were able to put their timetables, routines according to my travel. And Saturdays, Sundays, I would be home, and Monday again, I was traveling. But hats off to them, and deep gratitude to my family who stood by me, and I was able to be successful in my role. And then it did take courage to leave that corporate life and come to the social sector. And that is something where I really wanted to do and participate, because that was something where I thought that I can draw a change, I can drive a change. And believe me, that was a courageous movement and a moment. And every day was learning. We have been handling projects which are innovation projects, where at the face of it, we have many funding partners at NIT Foundation who come with a very nice dream vision, and we have our mission that we will do as they want. We'll align ourselves to their vision and mission, and it made whatever homework it may need to come back and do. But yes, I think the courage is that we go and say we'll do it for you, and then we come back and go back on the drawing board and work on the basic details and challenges that we face on the ground, whether it is about when you go to skill women and girls, young women, the challenges start right from uh, managing their parents, convincing them, making these girls courageous, bringing them to skilling, and then working with them to making them strong and resilient to go and negotiate that they have to work. And at that time, I see my story resonating with their story. And I feel that, for every woman, the foundation that she draws and creates for herself is very, very important. The small dandelion flowers which we see on our when we go on the roadside, people just walk over them, but they just rise up and shine. And when we look at them, we say, wow, we feel so happy, because they have a taproot which goes 1 meter down, and that is their foundation. So for a woman, I think that's the lesson I draw, that have a large heart, have a brave heart, and have a warm heart. And that can keep you going and can keep you questioning and challenging whatever difficulties come, and you can move on. So this is what I thought I can share with all
Such
of
a
you.
lovely story, Charu, and it's so touching. It is so, so touching. I think it certainly resonates in some part with all of us, what you have gone through. And again, today we are able to see such a big change because you have this kind of a conviction of making it happen. I will make it happen. And that's the most powerful mindset, right? That we start and we get going with it. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. So, Vijay, I will come back to you with the second question. Like you have been working with foundations,
Mhm.
and you face different, you have across different issues, different sectors, and different classifications that you have for the foundations and non-profit organizations that you work with. So if we just look at the different issues that women are facing,
Mhm.
What are the 2, 3 things that really stand out for you that you feel all of us should be focusing and working on?
So I think, first and foremost, Papia, we do have to accept that we continue to live in a very divided world, right? So the and while there are systemic changes around inclusion and moving to a world of equal opportunities, fact of the matter remains that there continues to exist a huge divide. Okay, and it's going to be it continues to be there. uh, but and yes, there are organizations, including what Jivitam is striving to do, a lot of capital which is going into really equipping to move towards the narrowing the gap around this unequal opportunities which currently exist and these divides which exist. But fundamentally, I think um, one is for any program or for any individual, I think to get there, the choice of first to be accorded the right of choice. Choice is not a privilege which should be given. Choice is a fundamental right. So everybody has the right to choose, right? Whether it is in a line of, a livelihood they want to pursue, whether it is about a choice of a life partner, whether they want to continue in a particular job. I think the fundamental thing is to respect that every individual must have the freedom of choice. It's very interesting because when you do all these women's empowerment, there are a lot of these trainings and all which happen. And as an impact assessment, when we are putting together the design framework, how do we assess? It's very simple. It's just one thing. Somebody said, for the meeting which is being conducted in the village community center, did you have to take permission at home to attend that meeting? In that one question, your entire crux of empowering a woman is established. If you have to ask permission to attend a meeting which is trying to educate you about your rights and what you should, that itself answers the question. So I always go back to the fundamental, the freedom of choice. The next thing is, I always say equip. Every woman must equip herself. Girl, adolescent, adult, senior citizen, every woman, irrespective of age and income class, must equip themselves. Information is available. We have to overcome the resistance and the fear that we build in ourselves to equip ourselves with information and awareness, the knowledge, what you're going to do, all that can come later. You need to have these two things in place. I think that's the starting point for me, Papia.
Yeah, equipping is very, very important. And the empowerment of opportunities. Very well said, Vijay. I think
Thank
this
you.
really matters. Now, one of the things that really troubles me a lot in my thoughts that wherever the opportunity has been given, women have done pretty well. If you look at, we were so closed about fighter aircrafts can't be, ridden by women, and now we are flying all over. Whether it is navy, whether it is fighter aircraft, now we have commercial aircrafts which are completely, unmanned. I will say, kind of a place. And even when I look at the results every year, whether it is 12th board results across different boards, the state board, CBSE, across all boards, the average percentage marks scored by women, girls is far superior than that of the guys. And also the number or percentage of girls making it to the merit list is also very, very good. But when it comes to professional education, when it comes to engineering, medical, or any kind of other professional, then the presentation or representation is very, very dismal. And that is what is holding us back, and what happens there, is the most difficult question. And I am going to put that difficult question to Pankaj, because she is part of, she leads the such big association for students. And what is your experience, Pankaj, and what are the things that we certainly need to do to?
Thank you, Papaya. Very good question. See, I have seen so many. I mean, whenever these Women Day celebrations are held, and whenever we see politicians on the stage, every time, I mean, without fail, every politician has been speaking about this. That I went to this particular convocation and I saw most of the women were bagging the gold medals. Most of the winners were women. So everybody is very proudly saying that women are excelling everywhere. But then these are the women who got the opportunity. If you see the age group of 15 to 18, 40% of the women are still out of school. So if they do not get the opportunity, how will they? I mean, I completely agree with Vijaya that we have to give them the opportunity and right to choose. And secondly, the theme of this year's Women's Day, that choose to challenge. They have to choose to challenge, and the attitude is something which is very very important for women. And by attitude means they have all the strength, they have all the empowerment within themselves, but they have to understand that they have it. It's not only the societal attitude towards the women, but it is the women's attitude towards herself. You will be surprised to know that once there was a group of women vice chancellors from USA to our university, and they informed me that in a developed country like USA, women vice chancellors are earning less than men vice chancellors. It was so surprising for me that in a country like India, which is a developing country, all vice chancellors are earning the same salary, whether it is women, men, central university, state university, deemed universities, everybody is having the same salary. So how come in a country like USA, the women vice chancellors are earning less than men vice chancellors? And then they confessed that what happens that in USA, the salaries are not fixed, they are negotiated over the table, and women tend to negotiate lower. They feel we are not worth that much. The higher salary is for the men folk. We are okay with a little less salary also. So that type of an attitude, not only in India, but world over is there, which has to change. The women has to change the attitude about herself. She has to understand that I am worth it. I'm so good. I'm an expert. The glass ceiling, which we keep on talking about, that the women reach till a certain level, but beyond that, there's a invisible glass ceiling which is holding them back, and that is clearly visible, especially in our education sector. When you see like children, I mean at student level, girls and boys are almost same. When you go to say assistant professor, women are around 48%, men are 52%. When you go to professor level, women are only 10%. But when you go to principal or vice chancellor's level, the women is only 4%. So where do 96% of the women go away? Just because that invisible glass ceiling is there, and the attitude of the woman is that I can go only till that level. I am made till that level. Beyond that, only men can go. So that glass ceiling, and the ones who are breaking the glass ceiling, they are obviously the world leaders now, and they have really shown that yes, we can, and they do. And everybody's proud of them. But the courage to break that glass ceiling comes with the attitude, the positive attitude of the woman towards herself. So that I think is most important, attitude of woman towards herself.
Yeah, no, thank you. And that's a piece, somewhere we also, women have to take responsibility and knowingly that we have to fight our own cause. Somebody else is not going to fight. I think enough has been spoken about somebody else fighting for us. Because if we have to, I have to talk about the stories of all the people who are there in the panel and speaking about, somewhere the choices were ours and fight was ours, right? We got support. So very, very well said, Pankaj, on that we will have to see. So maybe we have to fight for ourselves and we also have to fight for our daughters. Because
they will fight for themselves. We don't have to fight for them. We have to empower them to fight for themselves.
Yes. So yeah, that can be a way of looking at that. We have to empower that. How do they fight for themselves? And thank you so much, Pankaj. And Charu, you have been talking about that, how you have been helping some of the girls to fight for themselves. So I would love to hear what are the things that you feel that we should be doing?
Yeah, thanks, Papia. So, like Pankaj was also sharing, I think for girls, somewhere they have to take the ownership and they have to start, believing in themselves. And when we are working with the girls all across, we realize that the most important thing that they have to learn is how to negotiate. Because while courage is, they will have courage, but ultimately it is they who have to negotiate on what they want to do with their environment. So it is really important that when they are getting skilled, or whenever we are doing some skilling programs, we always believe that it's important to, the life skills are become very core. And the life skills are the courage, the confidence, and the resilience. So these three things become very, very important for the girl child. Additionally, I was just reflecting on what you said earlier, that, uh, the engineering and science and the other options. But I think it is important that they start developing that attitude to challenge. And that challenging attitude is when the STEM culture gets, they have the aptitude. So many of our programs in the when the students are in eighth plus, the girls, we have started doing some experiments when they are looking at them and they are challenging the environment, or they are challenging and questioning that why it's happening. Because the minute they start doing, they start developing an attitude to change, because a challenge will lead to change. So they start developing that attitude. And in one of our programs, we are also mapping it, that when they do it for 3 years, then do they go and opt for science? Are they scared that science is something that I can't do? So this is something which we have seen, that the minute we start inculcating that habit, then they start developing that confidence, and there is an attitude to take up and try new things. Then science is not something which they'll be afraid of, because science is not about science, it's more about being inquisitive, being uh, ready to find answers to new things. So these are certain things, and if this becomes a habit, then the girl child develops this throughout life. So we feel that it is important that resilience has to be there. They have to become, they have to have the habit of challenging the situation. These two become really center stage to they becoming successful in what they want to do.
And there was a beautiful story that you shared that day with me about a
Yes.
girl. Yeah, you want
Yes,
to share
I
that?
like to share that. Yeah, I was about to come to that. So I was in fact sharing with Papia the other day that with girls, we've realized that the negotiation skills become center stage. And at many times, they're so scared that they don't go back and talk to their parents and say what they want, because they have been subdued for so long. They get into a habit of accepting the environment the way it is, because they feel that is the normal for them. And in some cases, when we reached out to the parent and said that your child, this girl, this your daughter has got a job, and we wanted to convince the parent that, the place is safe, everything is fine, and she can go and work, she'll be fine there. We were trying to build the confidence. The father said, "Oh, I'm so proud. I didn't even know that my daughter has got this job. She never told me." And by that time, she had said no to that job. And you see, that is an example that the girls are so scared that they don't even go back and talk. So they have just accepted it. So it is really important that we shake that spirit that, I can do it, and they have to communicate and they have to go and negotiate. Otherwise, at many times, our the environment is getting prepared, but the woman in you has to take charge. I think that becomes very important.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Yeah. How do we really prepare the girls around to start not accepting things the way, if it is not acceptable, and just challenging it, or also even trying, and being ready for the failure. So I think the important part that you brought out was the resilience that is required. And failure is a part of life, and I think even men go through it. It is the question of just believing that it is not coming to me because I'm a girl. It is part of life, and that is why it has come in, and then going back and fighting. So thank you, Charu. Sylvia, you have international experience. It would be lovely to know how different it is across, or how same it is, and what are the things that you feel that we should certainly be focusing on.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I mean, there's some parts are very similar and some parts are different. So let me start with some things that are similar. For example, for a woman or a young woman to actually build their confidence, to actually ask and negotiate for what they want, I think that's true across the globe. Also, I think that the fact that women, even after 20 years of experience, of professional experience, still are building their confidence to break the glass ceiling, to really go all the way to the top, to the boardroom and C-suite, is something that I think is true across the globe. What I do think is different, for example, is the maybe the starting line, you can say, in a certain way, because at least in Europe, there's a lot of social support. There's a lot of education for free for all women and men. There's a lot of social support in terms of when a woman gets married and becomes pregnant, you can get 2 years of leave, paid leave. These are things that certain countries provide, which definitely helps women to not lose their position in the organization and be able to return to work very easily. It is not true in the US, though, and that is something that I found very interesting when living in the US. I met quite a lot of women who were very high-level lawyers and different, positions in organizations, but they had to keep their position, they had to return to work after 2 weeks of giving birth. And I was like, whoa, that is not something that I'm used to. It's not true across the board. Companies can choose what they offer the women, basically, right? But if you have an organization that doesn't offer any parental leave, then you are in a very tough place. So I do think the government and the policies made in a country are very much influencing how women can actually succeed. And that's why I think to have women in decision-making positions, politically as well as corporate-wise, is extremely important, because women know what women need in order to succeed. And I think it's very screwed when men are trying to make policies that supposedly work for women, because they only think what they think will help women, but they don't really know from their own experience. So one thing is, I think why Diversify is really working to get women into those top positions is because of decision-making power. We need to actually get women into top leadership positions for them to be able to implement policies that work for women in the workforce and beyond that. The second thing is, I do feel it's important to have women also because we need role models. Women need to be inspired by other women to see that it's possible for a woman to actually hold that position. See, for example, the vice president in the US, she's definitely a role model to a lot of women. So was Indra Nooyi, so is Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw and other women who actually are successful, but we need a lot more of them. It's not enough to just say, oh, it's just one Indra Nooyi, oh, fantastic, she's an incredible person, but I'm so far away from that. What if every organization had at least 2 or 3 women in the boardroom or C-suite where I, as an employee, can look up to and say, oh, I have a woman here. She's in my organization at the top. So this organization is very capable of having, promoting women to come to this place. That's what is really driving me to actually, help women to break into those roles and the courage to really challenge the glass ceiling. And I do feel this is one critical point across the globe. We need to have more women in those leadership roles in order to facilitate other women in organizations to actually come up the ranks, because the pipeline is still broken. And until we get the right policies and the right people at the top, it won't probably change.
Yeah.
Papia, if you will indulge me for just 1 minute, I just wanted to add one thing. I think just picking up on the point of divide, one of the things that I don't think there should be poor solutions because you have an income group which is really poor and trying to break those, trying to break that income barrier to start with. Now, a few months ago, there was this video on LinkedIn which showed this young girl in rural Maharashtra who comes from an agricultural family, and through her 9th standard and 10th standard, she had been tending to the cattle in her father's farm, working alongside with her brothers. She's gone on to complete her bachelor's in science in agricultural sciences, and she driving a tractor, tilling the land, and also set up some sort of organic milk production. This thing. I think the limited point I'm trying to make is that it is proven over and over and over again that women have the capability, the potential which is there. I think the unlocking of the potential has to be done not when women, once they've gone into the workforce, but even before that. Curriculum needs to include training and grooming for leadership, whether it is in a tier 2 city, it is peri-urban, or it is in the most elite business school in India.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bhavya.
Yeah, that's the point even Charu was making, isn't it? That you have to start very early in getting that belief, right? It's a question of a belief system that I can do it. And that has to start very, very early. So, the leadership skill is also that how do you get that, that conviction and confidence that I can make it happen if I want to. And that you are absolutely right. That has to happen, and that has to happen very focused for women, because somewhere as a family tradition and all, some part of it gets passed on to the sons, but not necessarily to the daughters that we know of, the kind of thing that happens. So I'll go back to Sylvia and Sylvia, if you have to do one thing, I know that you are very, very sharply, focusing on one change that you already have decided to make it happen. So I'll start with you. What is the one change? And also, what is one advice that you would like our viewers to, stay with or live this panel conversation with?
Well, yes, as you said, the one change I'm very focused on is really changing the percentage of women in top leadership positions across the globe. That is really my mission. And I feel very confident that through that, we will really change the way business culture is. I really want, from my experience of the behavior that I've experienced with the mostly male boards and C-suites, I do want it to become more collaborative as well as ethical, to be honest. And through that also more sustainable. So this is the one change I really want to see. And then for the women, what I really want to see is that more women are encouraged to actually stay in the workforce and continue their career and not drop out. It is very challenging. I obviously everybody agrees, having a family, having children, it's a very big challenge. It's a bigger challenge I feel for women than it is for men. Yet I do encourage women, and that's the change I would like to see, is more women staying in the workforce, not only for themselves, but for as a role model for other women as well as their own daughters, to say it's possible, we can do this, and also to have the courage to actually stand there.
Thanks, Sylvia. Thank you. Pankaj?
Papia, I do recollect that when I was in that rural women university, we held one women youth parliament. And in that youth parliament, we had many bills on reservation for women in parliament, reservation for women in jobs, with reservation in educational institutions. And you'll be surprised to know that all the rural girls of that university, they dropped all the bills. I mean, they said, we don't need any reservation. We only need opportunity. Give us opportunity, and then you'll see men running for reservations. We don't need any reservation. So I feel the only thing which has to change is, again, I will come back to attitude, that the attitude of the women towards herself, which will break the stereotypes. By stereotypes, I mean that right now, if you close your eyes and think of a scientist or a doctor or an engineer, a male face comes in front of you. And the moment you think of a receptionist or a, say, telephone operator or a nurse, a female face comes in front of you. That stereotype has to be broken, that we are meant to do bigger things, and you know that you can do bigger things. So that attitude has to change to break the stereotypes and to break the glass ceiling. So for both of them, that the attitude has to change. And once the attitude changes, they can really do wonders. They can reach any level, whether it is leadership, highest positions, Chief Justice of India, Prime Minister, President, women scientist. I mean, Madame Curie was the first who got 2 Nobel Prizes. She was a woman, but she got 2 Nobel Prizes, the only woman. So, I mean, once they decide and they believe in themselves that yes, they can, they will. That is the only thing.
Thanks, Pankaj. No, you really put in a very good stereotypes, that what kind of stereotypes that are there. So actually at my home, my son is 3.5-year-old, and somebody kept on, people come and everybody is expecting that 3.5-year-old to know what he wants to become when he grows up. So, and there were people who had big objections of him saying that I want to become my mommy, because for him currently mommy is the role model, and during COVID he only knows mommy. All good things happen through mommy. So he said I want to become mommy, and I was very proud. My mother was like, what, surprised, because she couldn't take it that a guy is saying that he wants to become mommy. But my visitors had, who were asking that question, they were like, really, Papia, really? I'm like, why not? Why not a guy can become a mommy, basically behave and take responsibility of the home? So it has to change both ways, for it to be. So
Yes.
stereotypes have to break in our mindset. So the different mindset will be required if you want to bring on the change. Vijay, you are trying to say something. Okay. So I'll go next to Charu and then come last to Vijay.
So I think for the women, it is really important that they stay in habit of continuously learning. I think learning should not stop, and that is very very critical, because even for the young girls whom you can skill and put them in a job once, but till that learning attitude does not remain, they'll keep facing that challenge, because when you get in the first job, there are some skills you don't know, and because you cannot learn, you will again go back. So it's really important that continuing to learn, the continuing education concept is very very critical for girls. And I feel that in today's time, when I talk of STEM, I think for women the STEM is more digitally becoming equipped. So technology inclusion in their day to day life, I feel, is very very critical. And having said these two things, I will add to what Pankaj also said, that the unconscious bias, I call it. I think it is very, very critical that it's not only the environment which is putting that unconscious bias, but somewhere the women are carrying that also. That no, I'm supposed to do this, I'm not supposed to do this. So I think it's both sided. Like Papia, you were also saying that it's both sided. It's not only the environment and the outer world, but it's the women in themselves who create those walls, that this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do. So, and that unconscious bias has to uh, you know go. And the continuing education, learning attitude, and technology inclusion, I felt these are, if these three are there with the woman, she can be really empowered.
Thanks, Charu. Vijay, over to you.
So Papi, I think Charu made an extremely relevant point, about the digital inclusion, and I just remember that 6 years ago, my the lady who comes at home to help with the domestic chores, she had never ventured to step out of beyond foot. She stays in a place called Dharavi in Bombay, and so she would just look for work, would just allow her to work. I forced her to buy a railway pass and travel by the local train. And I think empowering women and so on starts with small single acts of you know things that they're going to be able to do for themselves. So digital inclusion, the ability to use WhatsApp and so on, so very very relevant. But yes, if there's something that we want to advise an entire generation of young women who want to enter the workforce, I would say identify, equip, act further. You have to identify what you want to do. You have to act, equip yourself, and then you have to act on the choice that you want to make. This is not about convincing or getting the whether it is telling the family that you want to push back the age of marriage. You're willing to travel to another city. I remember 2 years ago I was in a small place called Kurnool in Andhra for an impact assessment, and I had seen young women age of 21, 22, who belonging again to agricultural families, who had gone on to study, and they were staying in hostels, they were working in retail outlets. I mean, those are those success stories that are that are not very far removed, right? Because you're seeing it. Sometimes we feel that women in leadership in large corporations seems a little bit far removed, but this is what I would say. I think it's very much possible. And so you have to act on it, and you have to further. You have to keep doing what it takes to keep furthering yourself. So whether it is in getting into the cycle of continuous learning, making more informed choices because you have equipped yourself. I think it's like a PDCA cycle, Papia, in that sense. So you have to do these four things. It's like those four quadrants which make up the circle. And I truly believe that, there's nothing to stop the women. The last point is we must drive these conversations with men in these conversations. I think they're important to bring them into these conversations.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm, one of the pieces that I feel very, very strongly about is providing opportunities. So one thing for me that what we can do as women senior leaders is actually open doors and providing the opportunities for more and more women to come in. Because one of the pivotal moments for me was when I was HR director for Edelweiss Tokyo Life Insurance, and I was visiting Karnal in Haryana, and there were women who were first time coming, so their husbands were businessmen and they had taken in their name life insurance advisory, but it was the woman who used to work, right? And they will so whenever I would visit, and that will be once in a year kind of a thing, they will come and say, हमने देख लिया ना, अब हम कर सकते हैं, आप बताओ कितना नंबर करने पे नेक्स्ट लेवल होगा, आप बता दो हमको, just tell us and we will do the next number, and all of them actually would come into all the CEO club and different kind of clubs that will be coming at as a opportunity for them. Basically, the rewards, all reward systems and all. And in 3 years' time, one of those women was like in the top of her, came in, and she was very upset. She called me and said, "I'm very upset." I said, "What happened?" She said, "You didn't call to congratulate me. I am, one of the top advisors of Edelweiss Tokyo Life. And when I joined, I had told you I will make it happen. Today I made it happen, but you didn't congratulate me." But that was, one of the most proud moments for me. And I truly, truly believe wherever I am today, because somebody trusted me and there was an opportunity. Once the opportunity comes in. And this time, Vijay, after this event that we are having is actually men. I think I have been fighting to say that you are doing job fairs across, why aren't you doing a job fair only for women? I need this to happen. And then we pushed, and this time these guys, mostly men and young women, I must say, they have been working to get at least 10,000 jobs that are for women as an opportunity. And I think all of us have to just create those opportunities for women and girls, and take every platform where we can give them the courage and conviction that they need to have to make the best out of whatever opportunities come their way. So I really enjoyed these conversations. Thank you for being so open and in sharing your own stories, sharing your own dreams. And I look forward to, keep on interacting and curating something more, and together doing something for this change to really take place. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much, Papia. You were wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Papia.
Papia.
And
Uh,
thank you all the panelists. Really a very, very engaging experience. Really nice.
Thank you so much, dear panelists. And we just would like you to pose for a small photograph.
With the challenge hand up or not?
On a count of 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rashi,
Pankaj.
for putting in a lot of effort to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vijaya. Thanks,
Thank
Papia.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Pankaj.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Shrishti and Manish. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am.
Bye.
Happy Women's Day to all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Women's Day.